Welcome to another video from Roland Mösel, founder of Planetary Engineering Group Earth. CO2 calculators and the typical problems of CO2 calculators. First, I searched a CO2 calculator available in German and English because I make all my videos in both languages. And I searched also a CO2 calculator available where it's possible to enter also own electricity production from photovoltaic. And here I start. This is not my current situation of housing. I hope this will be true in autumn 2024 in my own GEMINI next generation house. So there will be 2 people in 67 square meters. I had to enter Germany because Austria was not available in this calculator. Next, electricity consumption, 7,000 kilowatt hours. Most of this will be for the electric car because the house does not consume so much, and I calculate for 24,000 kilometers a year, and I think it will use 4,200 kilowatt hours only for the car. Then there is eco power, mixed sources, hydropower, wind power. I find this not very useful because when you go to the market and I say, I want only bio food, it's very expensive compared to normal food. But here I see no price differences between eco power and normal energy mixed power, so I don't think it's very useful. Do you generate your own electricity? Yes. 33,000 kilowatt hours a year, because I will have 43 kilowatt of photovoltaic. Next, heating. I make all with a heat pump. More than one heat pump. I made a video about this, about my 3 patents about heat pumps. And so I enter here 0 kilowatt hours because this is included in the 7,000 kilowatt hours of electricity usage. Also, it's not clear, is here electricity kilowatt hours or thermal energy kilowatt hours. This is not clearly stated here. Water, I enter the default value, I let the default value here. Nutrition, very few meat, but sometimes. And car. Yes, I hope to have a big electric car in 2 years, and I will drive about 2,000 kilometers a month, 24,000 kilometers a year. Travel, no time for it. Clothing, low clothes consumption. How many items do you order per month on average? Or maybe this was only for clothes, but I entered here 3 because I order electrical parts and cables and so on by internet. Next is waste. Here I reduced only the paper waste to 1 bag because we have nothing paper here in the house. Next is household appliances. A freezer and a dishwasher. That's enough. And entertainment electronics. 2 smartphones, 2 laptops, and 1 laser printer. That's enough. Pets, no. What is this? 13.95 tons CO2. And where is the minus sign at it? I expected to have a minus sign, and there is no minus sign. Why? I cannot imagine, because normally when you produce electricity by photovoltaic, it's calculated with 0.7 kilo of avoidance of CO2 emissions. So with my production, this should be far in the negative. It isn't. Strange. And now let's look on different items here. So much for mobility. Why? Or maybe they calculated the battery production of the electric car by a study using production methods of 1995, and the batteries are only produced by lignite power plants, the electricity for the production. Oh, and there is also 2.5% of this for 13.95 tons for entertainment electronics. Why? The electricity consumption is already in the 7,000 kilowatt hours I stated, but these items have to be produced, and they calculate for the production this CO2 emission. What is the solution for this? To stop buying any products of this? No, this is not a solution. The solution is to produce as much clean electricity as possible to make the electricity mix more clean, to reduce the average CO2 emission per kilowatt hour of electricity. And when this is zero, then there should be nothing of CO2 for the production of all these items. This is a solution, not to avoid any consumption, to make the consumption clean. This is a solution. Now I make a test how to reduce my CO2 footprint. Again, 7,000 kilowatt hours, and now no photovoltaic, no solar electricity, down from 33,000 kilowatt hours to zero. What will happen? Big surprise, my CO2 emission decreased because I don't produce electricity with my photovoltaic. Very big surprise. And now I make a next test. Here I reduce my electricity to only 2,800 kilowatt hours a year. How this big reduction from 7,000? Very simple, because I replaced my electric car by a diesel engine car, by an internal combustion engine. And now let's look what happens. A little bit more CO2 emissions, but between the example, I produce no electricity and I have a diesel engine car, and I have 43 kilowatt of photovoltaic to produce 33,000 kilowatt hours of electricity per year, and I use an electric car, is less than 1 ton of difference. So let's look back in the Middle Age. There's a rich merchant and he goes to the priest for a confession. I have ruined my business partner. I tricked him out. I have cheated my wife 3 times. I have thrown out a widow with 2 small children because she was 1 month late with the rent. And the priest says, give me 242 pieces of silver, and then your soul will immediately go up to heaven. Yes, this was the Middle Age. But now let's look on a modern, not CO2 calculator, we call it an energy balance calculator. Any CO2 emission is here 6 kilowatt hours of electricity. Why? There is a theory with the wood. 1 square meter wood absorbs 1 kilo CO2 per year. Great. We need only 37 million square kilometer of growing forest to have reduced our CO2 problem to 0. Yeah? This is a big number, and we don't have this 37 million square kilometer for growing wood, not. But for luck, we have photovoltaic. Photovoltaic can be used even in a desert without water. Trees don't like it, but a photovoltaic still produces electricity, much electricity even, and with 6 kilowatt hours of electricity we can filter out 1 kilo of CO2 and split it again in carbon and oxygen. And with this method we need only 0.6 million square kilometer of photovoltaic. Here is the method. First we have to filter much air to get 1 kilo CO2. This filtering requires a fan, and this needs 1.5 kilowatt hours per kilo of CO2. And then we split the CO2 in carbon and oxygen, and this requires 4.5 kilowatt hours per kilo of CO2. So we need 6 kilowatt hours to recycle 1 kilo CO2 out of the atmosphere. We made this energy balance calculator with this. We used actual numbers. Here you see also the links to the actual numbers of greenhouse emissions, for example at diesel or other fuel. There is also a pre-chain. This has to be extracted, transported, refined, and so on. And we have here a calculator where this pre-chain is also applied. And also at wood, we calculate 50% of the carbon, what becomes at firing the wood, carbon dioxide. There are many new scientific papers stating that burning wood is not CO2 neutral, as the advertising shows. There are different studies, but all say you have to calculate also CO2 emissions when you burn wood. When you build the wood into a house and this house lasts 100 years, this is a complete different scenario. But when you cut the tree and burn the wood immediately or within some months, then you have to calculate a big CO2 emission for this cutted wood. Let's start the examples with a house around 1970 and an actual diesel car driving 20,000 kilometers per year. Old houses use much electricity, so we calculate here 4,000 kilowatt hours. The electricity mix is the actual CO2 emission from Germany per kilowatt hour in average. This can be very different on different hours of the day or within the year. There can be very sunny days, very windy days where it goes down, and there can be dark days without wind when it goes much up. And we use 2,000 liters of heating oil and 1,200 liters of diesel. And this gives an energy balance of 72,408 kilowatt hours. Living in the house and using the car means this amount of electricity is needed. Not now, but we will have a planet renovation, and this planet renovation means we filter out CO2 out of the atmosphere and we split it again, and for all these emissions of this house, so much electricity. Now we start to optimize it. We make now an extensive thermal refurbishment of the house. Heat demand goes 60% down. For the room heating even more, because a part of the heat demand is domestic hot water. This remains the same. And with this, the heating oil demand is reduced from 2,000 liters to only 800 liters. And the energy balance goes down to 48,576 kilowatt hours. Oh, great reduction. now we reduce further. We replace the oil heating by heat pump. So now we have to calculate that the electricity consumption goes up by 2000 kilowatt hours to produce 8000 kilowatt hours of heat, what the oil heating produced with 800 liters, and we need no heating oil anymore, and the energy balance goes down to 37,728 kilowatt hours electricity. And next, we replace the diesel engine car by an electric car. And for 20,000 kilometers a year, I calculate here 3,500 kilowatt hours, 75 kilowatt hours for 100 kilometer. So we have now 9,500 kilowatt hours of electricity consumption, but no heating oil, no diesel anymore. And the energy balance goes down to 23,940 kilowatt hours. And now we mount on the south roof 10 kilowatt of photovoltaic. And this 10 kilowatt of photovoltaic produce 10,000 kilowatt hours of electricity per year. Hurrah, we should now be positive. We use only 9,500 kilowatt hours and we produce 10,000 kilowatt hours. Sorry, it's not like this, because we produce the electricity in times different from the time where we consume the electricity. And so we feed in the net 7,000 kilowatt hours of electricity, and own usage is only 3,000 kilowatt hours. Good organized, 30% of the electricity from the sun is used by ourselves, but this gives also an energy balance of 9,380 kilowatt hours. And now let's look to the GEMINI next generation house with an electric car. This is highly energy optimized. The own consumption is only 7,000 kilowatt hours. It's not mentioned here. He has only mentioned what I purchase on electricity and what I sell in electricity. And here I have electricity purchasing of 100 kilowatt hours. Oh, in December and January, the weather was sometimes extremely cloudy and it was not possible to charge the electric car. And so we have to purchase 100 kilowatt hours of electricity, and we sell 26,100 kilowatt hours of electricity, and this gives a balance of minus 25,848 kilowatt hours. This is a real contribution against the climate change. This is really a great balance, because at least we could absorb several tons of CO2, and when we use the usual avoidance calculation with 0.7 kilo CO2 emissions avoided by 1 kilowatt hour of clean electricity, we have a very good balance, and this is the target we have for our own house and for the soon be founded GEMINI Next Generation Incorporated. Planet renovation, back to 350 ppm CO2. We contribute house by house. This was another video of Roland Mösel, founder of Planetary Engineering Group Earth, and as always, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when I make my next video.